The modern car is essentially a copper mine on wheels. There are up to 180 pounds, 81 kilograms, of copper wiring snaking through a single premium electric vehicle, tying together every sensor, motor, and battery cell. But behind closed doors, a quiet panic has gripped the global automotive industry, and a massive, silent engineering coup is underway. The world's largest automakers are rapidly and secretively tearing copper out of their upcoming platforms. This isn't just a minor manufacturing tweak, it is a desperate multi-billion-dollar gamble that will fundamentally change how cars are built, powered, and repaired for the next half-century. For decades, copper was considered the absolute, irreplaceable lifeblood of automotive electronics. Giving it up was unthinkable. Yet, the industry is forcing a massive shift anyway, abandoning the gold standard of metallurgy to rely on a metal that most engineers previously warned would lead to catastrophic vehicle failures. If automakers pull this off, it will unlock unprecedented vehicle efficiency, slash manufacturing bottlenecks, and radically alter the global supply chain. But if they fail, it could trigger the most expensive recall crisis in industrial history, leaving millions of next-generation vehicles bricked on the side of the road. In this video, we are pulling back the curtain on the hidden engineering war that Detroit, Munich, and Shanghai don't want you looking at. We will break down the exact physics of why copper became a ticking financial time bomb, the dangerous alternative metal the industry is betting its entire future on, and how this invisible material shift is about to permanently rewrite the rules of global manufacturing. Before we go further, a quick disclaimer. This video is for informational and educational purposes only. Nothing here is financial advice. Now here's the part that should bother you. This is not a story about saving money on wiring. If it were, we would not be talking about it. This is a story about what happens when a raw material becomes so expensive, so unpredictable, so strategically contested, that some of the most sophisticated manufacturing operations on the planet are forced to redesign products that have worked the same way for over a century. And once you understand why copper became that material, you will start noticing this same pattern everywhere. In your phone, in your house, in the power grid outside your window right now. Where are you watching this from? Drop it in the comments, because I want to know how far this trend has already reached your part of the world, because it has probably reached further than you think. Let's start with the number that started all of this. In late January, copper crossed close to $15,000 a metric ton. That is not a normal fluctuation. That is a metal behaving like it is running out, even though technically it is not. Meanwhile, aluminum, sitting quietly in the background this entire time, is trading around $3,100 a ton. Do the math for a second. Copper is now roughly 4 times more expensive than aluminum. 4 times. Not 20% more. Not double. 4 times the cost for a metal that every car, every home, every data center, every wind turbine on Earth depends on to move electricity. And here's the detail almost nobody talks about. Cable manufacturers have a rule of thumb. Once copper trades at around 3.5 times the price of aluminum, the switch stops being optional and starts being inevitable. We are past that line now. We blew right through it. Which means what you're watching unfold with Ferrari and BMW is not an isolated engineering decision. It is a signal that an entire industry has quietly crossed a threshold. And the companies that move first are the ones protecting their margins before their competitors even notice there is a problem. So why is copper suddenly this expensive? This is where it gets uncomfortable, because the answer is not one simple villain. It is not just electric vehicles. It is not just data centers. It is every single major force in the modern economy pulling on the same limited supply of the same metal at the same time. Renewable energy needs copper for wiring and turbines. Data centers need copper for power infrastructure at a scale most people cannot visualize. Electrification of everything, from cars to home heating, needs copper. And global mining supply has not been able to keep pace, because new copper mines take years, sometimes over a decade, to permit and build. You cannot conjure a new copper mine into existence because demand spiked 18 months ago. Geology does not care about your quarterly earnings call. Pause for a second and think about that. We are trying to electrify the entire planet faster than at any point in human history, using a metal that takes over a decade to source more of. That gap between how fast we want to move and how fast the raw material can actually be pulled out of the ground is the real story here. Everything else, the wiring, the aluminum, the automakers, is just the visible symptom. Now let's talk about who moved first, because the order matters more than people realize. Tesla was early. Back in 2019, they began using aluminum wiring in the Model Y, and later carried that approach into the Cybertruck. At the time, most of the industry treated it as a Tesla quirk, another one of their unconventional engineering choices that traditional automakers would never seriously copy. That assumption did not age well. BMW, it turns out, was experimenting with this even earlier than Tesla, using aluminum conductors as far back as 2011 in their compact models, expanding it gradually into hybrids. But the real shift happened with their 6th-generation electric drive platform, where aluminum cabling moved into both the high voltage and low voltage systems of the car. This was not a side experiment anymore. This was core infrastructure. Then Ferrari joined. And this is the detail that should stop you in your tracks, because Ferrari is not a company that makes decisions based on saving a few dollars per vehicle. Ferrari's own communications team has said, on record, that performance, not price, drove their decision. The switch reduces the wiring weight of a vehicle by as much as 20%. In a car where every kilogram is treated like a sacred number, where engineers fight over grams, a 20% weight reduction in wiring is not a footnote. It is a headline, and it tells you something important. Even when cost is not your primary motivation, the physics and economics of aluminum are becoming impossible to ignore. Stellantis, the 4th largest automaker on the planet, has also started making this switch according to industry sources, though the company has declined to comment publicly. Think about what that silence means. When Ferrari talks openly about performance benefits and Stellantis stays quiet, that gap tells you the story is not the same for every company. For some, this is innovation. For others, it might be a cost pressure they would rather not admit to publicly. And then there is China. Chinese EV makers, including brands most Western audiences have barely heard of yet, brands like AVTR, XPeng, and Xiaomi, have already adopted aluminum wiring across select models. This did not happen by accident. Back in March of last year, the Chinese government released a policy paper actively encouraging manufacturers to shift toward aluminum. That is a government, not a company, nudging an entire domestic industry toward a strategic material transition, years ahead of when most Western regulators even started talking about it publicly. Ask yourself why a government would care enough to write a policy paper about wiring. Governments do not usually intervene in raw material choices unless they see a supply vulnerability coming. China, more than any nation on earth, understands global metal supply chains because they dominate so many of them. If Beijing is pushing its automakers toward aluminum this early, that alone should tell you the copper shortage is not viewed internally as temporary. And there is a second layer to this that almost nobody connects. China does not just mine and refine an enormous share of the world's copper supply chain. It also controls a massive portion of global aluminum smelting capacity. So when Chinese policy quietly nudges manufacturers toward aluminum, it is not a neutral engineering recommendation. It is a country repositioning its own industrial base toward the metal it has the most leverage over. That is not a coincidence, and it is not something you will find spelled out in any press release. You have to notice it yourself by looking at who benefits from the direction the entire industry is suddenly moving. Sit with that for a second, because it reframes everything we have talked about so far. This is not simply a story about engineers solving a cost problem. It is a story about which countries and which companies end up holding leverage over the materials the next decade of transportation and infrastructure will depend on. Copper mining is concentrated in places like Chile, Peru, and the Democratic Republic of Congo. Aluminum smelting, by contrast, is disproportionately concentrated in China. Every time an automaker swaps copper for aluminum, the center of gravity for that vehicle's material supply chain shifts a little further east. Multiply that decision across millions of vehicles a year, and you start to see a geopolitical undercurrent hiding inside what looked, on the surface, like a simple engineering memo. Let's talk about the trade-offs, because this is not a clean, purely upgrade-shaped story, and I want to be honest with you about the complications. Aluminum has real limitations. Its electrical conductivity sits at only about 61% of copper's. That means engineers cannot just swap the metal one-to-one. Wires made from aluminum need to be roughly 1.6 times larger in cross-section to carry the same current safely. That adds complexity to how a car is designed, how much space wiring takes up, and how engineers route it through increasingly cramped electric vehicle platforms. There is also a piece of history worth knowing, because it explains why some engineers are cautious rather than celebratory about this shift. Decades ago, aluminum wiring had a troubled reputation in home construction, tied to overheating and connection failures when it was not installed with the right techniques and hardware. That history has shaped how seriously today's engineers treat the transition. Nobody wants a repeat of that story playing out inside millions of electric vehicles, which is exactly why companies like BMW spent over a decade validating this shift before scaling it into core vehicle systems, rather than rushing it the moment copper prices spiked. So here's where it gets interesting, and this is the part I really want you to sit with. Weight matters more in an electric vehicle than in almost any other consumer product on Earth, because weight directly determines range. Every kilogram you remove from a car is a kilogram the battery no longer has to work as hard to move. That means aluminum wiring is not just a cost play in the EV world. It is a performance lever. It is one of dozens of small engineering decisions that, stacked together, determine whether a car gets 300 miles of range or 340. And in a market where EV buyers are obsessed with range numbers, That gap can decide which car sells and which one sits on a dealer lot. This is why analysts believe the shift is only accelerating. According to JP Morgan, the switch from copper to aluminum is projected to affect around 2% of global copper demand this year alone. 2% sounds small, until you remember we are talking about one of the largest, most heavily traded industrial commodities on the planet. And the same analysts project that number could rise to roughly 6% by the year 2030. 6% of global copper demand permanently redirected toward a different metal, driven by cars, cables, air conditioning systems, and electrical grid components, all making the same calculation at roughly the same time. Where are you watching from? And more importantly, have you noticed this shift happening in products around you already? Because I promise you, it is not limited to cars. Let's zoom out, because this is where the real implications live, far beyond wiring harnesses and vehicle assembly lines. If 6% of global copper demand shifts to aluminum by 2030, that changes the long-term investment case for copper mining companies. It changes projected demand curves that mining executives use to justify billion-dollar expansion projects. It changes how commodity traders price copper futures years in advance. A shift that started as a wiring decision inside a handful of automotive engineering departments is now rippling into boardrooms that have nothing to do with cars at all. And this is not just about aluminum's success story either. It's about a much bigger structural tension in the global economy right now. We are trying to electrify everything, transportation, heating, data infrastructure, all at once, using metals that take a decade or more to source at scale. That mismatch between demand velocity and supply velocity is going to keep creating these moments, where entire industries are forced to improvise, substitute, and redesign products that have worked one way for generations. Copper to aluminum in cars is just the first visible domino. It will not be the last. Think about what else runs on copper. Home wiring, power grids, wind turbines, solar farms, data centers powering every artificial intelligence model you have ever used. Every one of those industries is watching the same price chart Ferrari and BMW are watching. Every one of them is quietly running the same calculation, asking whether the copper premium has become permanent or temporary. And the fact that automakers, an industry famous for moving slowly and cautiously, have already made their decision tells you something about which answer the smart money is betting on. Here's a question worth sitting with for a moment. If the world's most cautious, most reputation-obsessed manufacturers, the ones who cannot afford a wiring failure, recall costing them billions in brand trust, are willing to make this switch now, what does that tell you about how permanent they believe this price shift really is? Companies do not redesign core vehicle architecture for a metal price swing they expect to reverse in 6 months. This is a bet on the next decade, not the next quarter. Cable manufacturer Nexans has said something worth remembering. Aluminum becomes commercially attractive the moment copper trades at around 3.5 times its price. We are now sitting comfortably above 4 times. That is not a market flirting with a threshold. That is a market that has already crossed it and is deciding how far past it we go. And Norwegian aluminum producer Hydro has confirmed something else quietly happening in the background. Demand for aluminum in heating and cooling systems, tubing, and industrial applications outside the auto industry is climbing too. This is not isolated to cars. It is a broader material substitution wave, touching electrical infrastructure across sectors most people never think about. So what happens next? If this trend accelerates the way analysts expect, we are looking at a structural repricing of 2 of the most important industrial metals on the planet, happening in real time, largely invisible to the average consumer, because none of it shows up on a sticker price or a spec sheet. Nobody buying a new BMW is told, this car contains aluminum wiring because copper became too expensive. It just quietly happens, engineered into the product before you ever sit in the driver's seat. Let's talk about who actually pays for this shift, because it is not who you might assume. On paper, aluminum is cheaper, so you might expect car prices to fall, or at least stabilize. In practice, that is not how any of this works. Automakers do not typically pass material savings directly to consumers. Instead, that saved margin gets absorbed back into the business, offsetting other rising costs, protecting profit targets, or funding the next wave of research and development. So the consumer experience barely changes. The car looks the same, it drives the same. The price, if anything, keeps climbing anyway. The only difference is buried in a wiring harness nobody outside the engineering department will ever see. That is what makes this shift so easy to miss. It changes the anatomy of the product without changing anything you can perceive from the driver's seat. Now think about the flip side of this story. The company's still committed to copper. Every automaker that has not made this switch yet is now operating with a cost disadvantage compared to competitors who have. That is a real measurable gap. And in an industry with margins as thin as the current EV price war has created, cost disadvantages compound quickly, which means the pressure to switch is not going away. If anything, every company that adopts aluminum wiring makes it harder for the remaining holdouts to justify staying on copper. This is how industry-wide material transitions actually happen, not through a single dramatic announcement, but through a slow tightening of competitive pressure until staying the same becomes the riskier choice. There's also a recycling angle worth understanding, because it complicates the simple narrative that aluminum is just the cheaper winner. Copper has an extraordinarily high recycling value and an established, mature recycling infrastructure built over more than a century. Aluminum recycling exists too, but the systems built around vehicle recycling, scrapyards, and end-of-life processing have been optimized around copper-heavy designs for decades. As aluminum wiring scales up, that entire recycling ecosystem has to adapt as well, which is its own slow-moving industrial shift happening quietly downstream of the one we have been discussing. One more thing worth pausing on before we close this out. Ferrari, of all companies, said performance drove their decision, not price. That single sentence is doing a lot of work, and it is worth questioning rather than accepting at face value. Is it really just about shaving weight off a supercar? Or is it easier, from a brand perspective, to tell the public a story about performance than to admit that even a company selling $500,000 cars is not immune to a global metal shortage? I'm not telling you which answer is correct. I'm telling you that both explanations can be true at the same time. And the fact that Ferrari chose to lead with performance rather than cost tells you something about how carefully every word coming out of these companies is managed. Nothing you hear from a corporate communications team is an accident. Every sentence is chosen. That is the pattern worth remembering. The biggest shifts in the economy rarely announce themselves. They do not come with a press conference. They show up as small, technical, seemingly boring engineering decisions, made quietly inside companies that have every incentive to keep the reasoning behind closed doors. By the time the mainstream narrative catches up and gives it a headline, the shift has usually already been priced in by the people paying close enough attention early. That is exactly the kind of pattern this channel exists to catch before it becomes obvious to everyone else. If this video made you see copper, aluminum, or even your own car differently, that is the entire point. There's a version of this story playing out right now in semiconductors, in rare earth elements, in the materials inside your phone, and most people will not notice any of it until it is already old news. If you want to be the person who sees it early instead of the person reading about it after the fact, that is what the market continuum is built for. Think back to the number we started with. Copper near $15,000 a ton, aluminum near $3,000, a 4 times gap that quietly rewired, quite literally, some of the most prestigious vehicles on Earth. Nobody sent out a press release explaining the full picture. You had to piece it together from scattered comments, industry sources who would not go on record, and analysts buried in reports most people will never open. That is exactly the kind of signal this channel is designed to surface before it becomes common knowledge. So here is the honest truth to leave you with. Most people watching this video will forget about copper wiring by tomorrow morning. A smaller group will remember it the next time they see a headline about metal prices, and finally understand what is actually happening underneath it. And an even smaller group will start looking at every other everyday product around them and asking the same question we asked about your car today. What is quietly changing inside this that nobody is telling me about? If you want to be in that last group, subscribe, stay close, and keep watching. Because the next quiet shift is probably already happening somewhere, right now, and we are going to find it before the headlines do.